Did you know that every year, thousands of people apply for a UK visit visa, and a huge number of these applications are rejected? What's surprising is that many refusals happen not because the person is ineligible, but because of small mistakes in the application. I personally know two different people who were rejected at first, but when they reapplied with the right corrections, their visas were approved. In this video, I'll share the most common mistakes people make when applying for a UK visit visa and what you can do to avoid rejection. The very first thing the visa officer looks for is your purpose of visit. If you just write holiday or tourism without details, it creates doubt. Be specific about why you are traveling, where you will stay, who you are visiting, and how long you plan to stay. For example, instead of simply writing tourism, say, I plan to visit London and Manchester for 10 days, staying in booked hotels and sightseeing at major attractions. If you are visiting family, explain the relationship, provide their details, and ideally include an invitation letter. And most importantly, make sure what you write in your application matches your supporting documents. A vague or inconsistent purpose is one of the fastest ways to get refused. The second area that often causes rejection is financial documents. The UK authorities want to be confident that you can fund your trip and won't face financial problems while visiting. Always include at least 6 months of bank statements that show regular income, along with pay slips or business income proof. If there are unusual or very large transactions, explain them in a cover letter. For example, if you received money from selling property, attach the sale deed. Inconsistent or unexplained finances make visa officers doubt whether you can afford the trip. If you are a housewife without direct income, you can rely on sponsorship. Sponsorship from a partner in your home country. If your husband or partner is traveling with you, include their bank statements, payslips, and a letter confirming that they will cover both your expenses. If they are not traveling, you can still use their financial documents, but the cover letter must explain clearly why they are funding your trip. Sponsorship from relatives in the UK. If a family member in the UK is willing to sponsor, they must provide their bank statements, payslips, proof of immigration status, and a sponsorship letter confirming they will cover your costs. However, you should still show some financial stability in your home country, even if modest, to avoid the impression that you depend entirely on others. If you are a housewife engaged in farming or self-supporting work on your own land, show land ownership papers, crop sale receipts, or local income certificates to prove financial stability. And if your income is not regularly deposited in the bank, explain why. Do not suddenly deposit a large amount of money just for the purpose of the application. If such a deposit is genuine, for example, from seasonal farming income, accumulated household savings, or a family gift, provide documents to prove exactly where it came from. And remember, incomplete or missing documents can easily lead to refusal. The third major factor is your ties to your home country. A UK visit visa is temporary, and the officer must be convinced that you'll return after your trip. The strongest evidence is stable employment, a letter from your employer confirming your job, leave approval, and when you're expected back. But if you are a housewife without formal employment, you can still show strong ties. Family responsibilities are powerful evidence, for example, caring for children enrolled in school, or looking after elderly parents or in-laws. Documents like school admission receipts, Idaho cards, or fee slips can support this. Local commitments also count. This could mean being active in a community group or women's association, supporting household farming, or helping manage joint family property. Even if land is in your husband's or family's name, ownership papers can show your connection to your home. Other ties include ongoing medical care for family members, community responsibilities, or local financial activities such as a small bank account or farming receipts. If an applicant has a job and even land in their country, but is living single or divorced without children, they should be careful not to write in the application that they have no commitments. This can easily lead to refusal. In such cases, it is important to highlight other ties, such as responsibility to look after parents, or if parents are not alive, any other relevant commitments in family, community, or property management. The main point is to reassure the visa officer that you have real reasons to return home after your visit to the UK. Even with enough money, if the officer thinks you might overstay, you can still be refused. So don't just show finances. Also highlight your family, social and community ties that prove you must return home. Another common reason for refusal is incomplete or inaccurate documents. Sometimes applicants upload the wrong file, submit documents that aren't translated into English, or leave gaps in the form. For example, if your marriage certificate, land ownership deed, or birth certificate is in your local language, you must submit a certified English translation, properly signed and stamped by an authorized translator. Untranslated or unofficial translations can cause rejection, even if the document itself is genuine. When it comes to documents, more is safer than less. Submitting extra documents, even if not directly relevant, usually does no harm. But if you provide too few documents or leave key information missing, refusal is very likely. Some agents wrongly advise against attaching additional paperwork, but this often happens because they don't fully understand how UK visa officers review applications. Always check the official checklist and make sure your documents are complete, correct and clear. Double-check file names, scans and page numbers before uploading. And most importantly, always be honest. Submitting fake or misleading documents can lead to a long-term ban, not just for the UK, but also in other countries that share immigration information. Even if you've had a refusal before, it's better to explain honestly why the mistake happened in your earlier application and clearly show how you've improved your case this time. So what happens if you do get rejected? First, don't panic. A refusal doesn't mean you can never get a UK visa, but don't just reapply immediately. Read the refusal letter carefully. It will explain the reason. Fix those issues before you apply again. For example, one housewife first applied as a farmer but had no proper financial records. She also didn't explain her income situation, and instead a large amount was suddenly transferred from her husband's account just before applying. The agent who submitted her case didn't spot these problems, and her visa was refused. But when she reapplied, she added a clear explanation of the earlier mistake and included all the right supporting documents, bank statements, land ownership details, and proof of family responsibilities. Her second application was approved, and she still travelled on the original date she planned. Another case was a divorcee who had a steady job and owned land, and even lived with her mother. But in her application she wrote that she had no commitments in her home country. The agent overlooked this mistake, and the officer assumed she might not return. On reapplication, she corrected this by showing her employment proof, land documents, and a statement about her responsibility for her mother. Her visa was approved as well, and she too travelled on her planned date. The UK authorities don't refuse for no reason. They just want to be sure you meet the requirements. If you make a mistake, be honest about it. Provide the missing documents and explain it clearly. Once you do that, approval is very possible. But remember, visa fees are non-refundable. Paying attention to detail in your first application can save you money and prevent rejection for avoidable mistakes. Remember, most refusals happen because of small, avoidable mistakes. If you prepare carefully, you can succeed. UK visit visa success depends on being clear with your purpose, showing strong finances, and proving your ties to home. This video is based on personal experience and official guidelines. Always check the UK government website for the latest updates. If you found this helpful, give this video a like and subscribe for more travel and visa-related tips. If you have any doubts, please let me know in the comments. And just to be clear, this video is for information purposes only. It is not legal advice.